Hey there guys and gals, this is Chris with Ignited by Nature and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about the Swarovski STC. This is a great ultralight compact spotting scope that really is best in class for its size, weight, and optical performance. In fact, I think the only scope that it really competes with is the Kowa TSN 55S. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and take a closer look at the STC and get into the nitty-gritty. The first thing I want to get into here is obviously the specs. So starting right off the bat, let's go ahead and talk about the objective lens. The Swarovski STC has a 56mm objective lens. So for optics in its class, which really only is the Kowa, it has a slight advantage on the overall brightness of the optic. And I also think as far as Kowa goes, I think the Swarovski, I don't even know if I'm still saying that right, but I try, right? I know someone will probably comment about that, but whatever. But as far as the overall optical performance goes, I like the contrast of Swarovski Optik better. I feel like it really just makes things pop, especially when you have like that chartreuse, am I saying that right? That really green chartreuse grass, like what's behind me, and you pick up a summer mule deer or a summer coated elk, which typically are more reddish in color, man, they just pop, and I love that. The coatings on this optic in general, or in the Swarovski line in general, have a warmer, more true to life color, so the contrast is just there. So when you have a bird or some kind of mammal or anything that you're hunting in the background, when you're near that animal or you're glassing, you're zooming in, that thing just pops. That's what I love about Swarovski Optik, right? So overall, the image quality is exceptional on this optic. Now, it's a 17 to 40 power zoom range, so you have plenty of zoom range for most situations. I would say up to 1,500 yards, this optic does great, especially for elk. Mule deer, especially if you're into school, you're gonna be, I don't know, you might need to get closer, but I think overall it's going to work great. And especially with phones nowadays, like I have an iPhone 15, it has a 15x zoom, so up to, I would say, 10 power, especially with this glass, you can get a pretty good image and a pretty good idea of what the animal is out to 1,500 yards. So with this optic, I also love the eyepiece. It's got a fluid eyepiece, meaning that there's no click stops or anything like that. It's just one solid continuous movement, and you just stop wherever you want to stop it. And it has 20mm of eye relief. So it has really good eye relief overall. As I always say in my videos, between 15 and 20mm is where you want to be. Now, if you're an eyeglass wearer, that's especially important, but you're going to want to have this twisted all the way in, and you get your eye right up there with your glasses, and that's going to give you the best viewing experience. For everyone else, it's really going to depend on your face structure, right? For me, especially with Swarovski, I like it twisted all the way out, and then I twist it in just a little bit. And that seems to give me a very good field of view, and that eye relief works well for me. Now, as far as field of view goes, this optic has a field of view of 189 feet at 1,000 yards at 17 power, and then at 40 power it has a field of view of 102 feet at 1,000 yards. So it's, I think, a 6-foot difference at 15 power from the Kowa, and then it's like a 3-foot difference at 40 power. So you're kind of splitting hairs as far as field of view, but if you care about field of view, the Kowa TSN 55 is going to have a better overall field of view. And then in my opinion as well, I would say that the Kowa TSN 55S has a little bit better edge-to-edge clarity, but it's splitting hairs. Anyways, this optic is honestly awesome. It's my favorite optic out of all the compact spotting scopes. I'm trying not to be biased here. I'm just trying to give an unbiased review. That's why I keep throwing Kowa out there, because it truly is the only optic, the only compact optic in its class that competes with this optic. Now, I actually have the all-in system, so I can pop this off. So I don't actually have the Ocular lens cap, but one cool little added feature that I wanted to add about the Ocular lens cap is, one, it's tethered, so you can tether that on. Right now I have the all-in setup on here, so I don't use this. It's just stored away in the box for if I ever decide to sell this, which I don't know why I would. Besides, I might need money for another video, so so if I sell it, that's why. If you see it on Facebook Marketplace or eBay, that's why. It's not because I don't like it. And then, so where'd I put that eye cup? Oh, right here. So on the objective cover, because they made it fit inside the optic, you can just go ahead and stick it right in there, and then it fits. So when you have this tethered on, it actually is pretty awesome because you don't have to worry about losing it, right? With this, unfortunately, I wish they would have designed this to work the same way, but they don't really care, probably because they have so many optics that they make the all-in system for. But I have to just remember to keep this in my pocket so I don't lose it. But honestly, nowadays, because I've used Swarovski's warranty, mostly because I'm a klutz and I drop my stuff and then I get OCD about it and I don't like seeing scratches on the rubber armor, I'll just send it in, and every time they've fixed it without even charging me. And you know, when I call in, I don't even like tell them that I make your reviews or do anything like that. So I don't try to set any kind of priority or anything with the customer service team. I just, you know, act like a normal customer, and I do that with all my reviews because I like to see how their customer service reacts. And I've just had nothing but good experiences with Swarovski, and so I don't even really worry about dinging this thing up or scratching the lens. I know if I send it in, they're going to take care of me. They might charge me for a scratch lens, but as far as like everything that I've sent it in for, which is honestly just dropping it, I think on the ATC I dropped it. I had a couple marks on the rubber armor and I kind of messed up the focus wheel to where it was kind of squeaky. They fixed everything, cleaned the glass, did everything for free, and they had it back within a reasonable time too. So I was very impressed with customer service. So that's another standout feature about Swarovski, is their customer service. And like I said, when you purchase, actually I don't think I said that, but if you purchase any of their products, you get a 10-year lifetime warranty, limited lifetime, but like I said, I've never had any issues with the warranty and I've never had to pay for anything. And then if you go online and register your product, they give you an extra year. I like registering it because I can just go online and file a claim if I need to, and then within a day they've already have a response and a repair ticket, and you know, I get it sent out to them. So customer service is awesome. And then the focus wheel, obviously you have a barrel focus. A lot of people tend to like the Kowa TSN 55S, the dual focus knobs with the fine focus, but for my purposes, I feel like it works really well. And if you're just gentle with it, especially when you're zoomed out at distance and you're digiscoping, it's not going to shake that much if you're just gentle with it, right? But it has a super smooth fine focus, so it's really a top-notch optic, and the overall build quality of it is just amazing. Now, I will say that I do tend to like the fine focus of the Kowa dual focusing knob a little better in some instances, mostly when I'm zoomed out very far, where I'm zoomed in at 40 power, I mean, and I have my digiscoping device hooked up and I'm trying to record and make some fine adjustments. I feel like Kowa works better for that. But overall, for in the field, like, I'm not worried about digiscoping, and I'm just like, I want to get out there, save some weight, have a nice form factor. Swarovski STC or the ATC take the cake for that, but especially the STC because it just fits so nicely in a pack in any of those spotting scope pockets, and especially if you're just using like a day pack, right? It just slides right in there. So I like that. And then as far as the objective or the ocular lens cover, you can actually pop it off. So if you need to clean your Optik, because you probably will need to, you should clean it, after, some use in the field. It's just going to work better overall, but you can pop that off and then just twist it back in there and you're good to go, right? But you have easy access to the lens, and I really like that as well. For the Swarovski STC and the ATC, you have 88% light transmission, right? So really great light transmission. And as far as I understand it, right, like I know everything's marketing and everyone advertises that differently. So that's why it's like the wild, wild west out there. There's actually no standards for optics as of right now, like 2025. There's no actual standards for these companies. So it's kind of like the wild west out there, right? So you just kind of got to take everything for what it's worth and compare optics side by side. And then as far as exit pupil goes, at 17 power, you have an exit pupil of 3.4 millimeters. And then when you zoom it up to 40 power, you actually have an exit pupil of 1.4 millimeters. So if you're glassing in low light conditions, you can be zoomed up to that 40 power range. But once you start getting into those last minutes of light, you're going to want to crank that down, especially if you're not 1,500 yards out, because you're going to be able to, one, have a wider field of view, but two, you're going to let more light into the optic, into your eye. So just keep that in mind. If you're glassing and it's the last few minutes of light, and really the last 15 minutes is where you start to see a degradation, and that's not because of the optic, it's more because of the amount of light coming in and the objective lens, how much light is actually hitting your eye. 56 millimeters, it's a compact spotting scope, so it's meant to fit a certain niche. It's not meant to be an 80 millimeter or 95 millimeter or 105 millimeter objective lens, right? Those are big optics for like glassing, not, maybe like a half mile and you hike or something like that, or you're glassing from off the truck and you're at Yellowstone, right? Those big objective lenses are for long distance glassing, and then also, for glassing close to your truck and stuff like that. I don't know. I mean, I packed in the 95 millimeter BTX and it's honestly manageable. It's not actually that heavy of a scope, but it's just cumbersome and it's huge, right? That's the only downside to that. And if it's windy, right, the stability, especially if you have a light tripod, that's where these compact spotters really come into play, because they're light, you can pack them easily, and for anything under 1,500 yards, I would say these work excellent, and it's pretty much all you really need for hunting. You really shouldn't be trying to glass things like 10 miles out or even anything past 1,500 yards, which gets close to a mile, right? Especially here in Idaho where everything's steep. You glass something out a couple ridges over, it's a lot of work. But whatever, if you're into that, definitely do that. But this is a great spotting scope for backpacking, backpack birding, for nature enthusiasts, just who like to hike and watch animals, right? It's going to be a great option for you. Another cool feature that Swarovski recently added, and it's actually a fix to a design flaw, but if you call in, if you don't have this, if you just buy this, like if you go and buy it at the store tomorrow, it will come with this Arca plate. But if you have an older version and you're just watching this video, know that you can call in and they will send you a proprietary Arca plate. Now, if you look at the bottom of the scope, if I took this off, you would see that there are 3 holes. There's the 1/4 inch female thread, and then you have 2 holes. And on this Arca plate, you have a 1/4 inch male thread, and then you have 2 male pins. And basically, you tighten this down and it locks everything down so that this optic does not move. Because before, when you're glassing and you're using a third party, I don't know, some kind of tripod mount, whatever tripod mount you like, right? Like I used to use Peak Design. If I was gonna turn that thing would move on me. And so I know some people mentioned on some of my other videos that they use Loctite and that lock down, but I've never had that experience. And honestly, I don't want to use the Loctite on something that has actually popped off on me before or gotten stuck in there and I've had to like twist it out. So I honestly just think it was a design flaw. They fixed it, and I'm a big Arca fan. I use it on all of my stuff, my cameras, my guns, my binoculars. So it's nice to have that all-in-one setup. So I really appreciate that they added this Arca Swiss adapter into the whole package. And I really think that it fixes the issue that used to be a design flaw, right? And then as far as ergonomics go, this thing is just sexy. It's got that sexy hourglass shape. You know, as Sir Mix-a-Lot says, what does he say? 34, or what is it? 24, 30, 36, 24, 36. Only if she's 5'3", right? I don't know. What is it? Hourglass shape. But anyways, just an excellent ergonomic, sexy shape overall. I love that it has a rubber armored coating over the whole body. So if you do drop it like I do, it's going to protect that magnesium housing. And then the next thing that I want to talk about and just cover in more detail is the overall length and the weight of this optic. And I think that's important, especially when we're talking about compact spotting scopes, because in all reality, that's why we're going with a compact spotting scope, right? Is to save weight and to get something that actually fits in our packs, especially if we're going to be backpacking, right? So as far as weight goes, Swarovski Optik has this listed at 34 ounces. Or 34.6 ounces. And then when I measured it out or weighed it, it was 34.64 ounces. So right on the mark there. And then as far as the overall length, right? I think I meant to say length earlier, but we'll go ahead and just do it now, right? So the overall length was 11.2 inches. When I measured it out, it was 11.13 or 11 2/16 of an inch. So a little bit under what they actually have it advertised at. So I always like it when you see companies advertise it correctly and they're not just lying, just trying to, you know, market it and get some extra, you know, purchases under their belt. I don't know. But I always like when companies are honest, and Swarovski was honest about the weight and the length. So that's pretty cool to see. Alrighty, so I think I've covered pretty much everything I want to cover now. And let's go ahead and talk about some of the pros and cons. Now, as far as pros go, I think the Swarovski takes the cake with the overall contrast and image viewing experience. I just really love how everything with Swarovski just pops, right? You get a bird up in a tree, you have a seal out on a rock, you're watching a whale jump out of the water, or you're looking at deer and elk feeding on the summer range. They just pop, and I love that about Swarovski. The coatings they use, you know, the type of optics, the HD glass they use, whatever they're doing, it's great, and I really love that pop and contrast. So that's definitely a pro. I'd also say that the overall ergonomics are a pro. I really like the slender, sleek shape, and the overall build quality is just excellent. Another pro would be the added Arca plate. That really fixed the major con of the Swarovski, which was that the mounting surface was not that great. And then also the rubberized armored body is just awesome. Covers that magnesium housing and just keeps this optic safe. And if you do drop it, you know, they're gonna honor that. I would say another pro to that, now that we're talking about dropping it, would be their warranty. They have a 10-year unconditional lifetime warranty, or it's like conditional limited lifetime warranty. In my experience, it's always been unconditional. And then also with retrofitting my EL ranges, same thing, no charge. And they had to send it to Austria to fix it, but yeah, they took care of me there too. So customer service is probably one of the biggest pros out of all of them, right? Because you want to have peace of mind when you're buying something that's $26.99, right? This optic, by the way, is $2,699 brand new. And then I've been able to find it cheaper on eBay or Amazon, slightly used and confused, right? And you can find it there for maybe 23 to 25, depending on the condition and all that stuff. But for Swarovski, you're buying a Toyota. The thing's gonna run forever, it's gonna last forever, and the warranty is awesome, right? I barely ever have to use the warranty with Toyota, but when I do have to use it, they fix it and they take care of me, and I feel special, you know? They make me feel all nice and warm and fuzzy. And that's how Swarovski's warranty and their resale value, it just makes me feel fuzzy. And actually, I think when I bought this initially, it was $25.99, I think. And it's going up in price again, and their prices are always going up. So you have the potential to make a little bit of money, or at least get your money back. So I would say that's definitely a pro. That's kind of everything that I think is a pro. And then as far as cons go, I would say that a con would maybe be for some people the barrel focus. I've never had an issue with the barrel focus. Some people tend to like the TSN55S, the dual focus knob, and I actually really liked it. That was one of the standout features for me. I would also say another con for some people would be the Arca plate. They did fix the issue with mounting third-party plates, but if you want to use a third-party plate, that might be an issue because it will sometimes spin. You could try some Loctite to see if that works and it locks down the plate to the Optik, but that mounting surface is just small. If you're into Arca, then that's not a con, but for some, the mounting surface might be a con. And then lastly, I would say the other con is price, right? But you kind of get what you pay for. Whether you buy Swarovski or Kowa, you're going to pay a premium price, but you're getting a premium optic. And in this case, you're getting an optic with the best contrast and color that makes things really just pop. And I really love this optic overall. It just performs great. And I think it's worth the price, in my opinion, especially when you're going to use it for a lifetime. And you have that resale value, right? So if you use it for a year, or you buy it without your wife knowing and she finds out, or your husband, I don't know, whatever you're into, but you buy it without them knowing, and they find out, you might have to sell it. So you got a good resale value here. With all that being said, let's go ahead and wrap this thing up. I think the Swarovski STC or the ATC is an awesome option for you if you're looking for a compact spotting scope that really packs a punch, that has excellent image quality, excellent clarity and contrast, and then honestly, excellent field of view and edge clarity. It's not quite as sharp as the Kowa on the edges, but I mean, you're splitting hairs there. So you're just gonna have to do your own research on that if you're trying to decide between the two. But if you're looking for a sleek and slender scope that has rubber armor and that is nice and light and compact, that fits well in the pack, that you can take with you into the backcountry, and that works well out to 1,500 yards and in low light conditions, then this scope is the scope for you. As always, thanks again for watching this video. If you've watched it all the way through, I really appreciate it. And always remember to stay connected to the wild. We need nature in our life to make us feel better about ourselves. Helps with depression. It's just awesome to be out in the woods, right? So just always stay connected to the wild. If you found this video helpful, or you want some more gear reviews, or to watch some of my adventures, please go ahead and like and subscribe to my channel. I'd really appreciate that. And then also, I'd like to hear about what spotting scope you're using. Are you into spotting scopes that are compact, or do you like the big giant ones? I don't know. What are you into? Leave a comment. I'd love to hear about that. And then also, if you have any questions for me, leave a comment as well, and I'll try to get back to you with an honest answer. And if I don't know the answer, I'll try to point you in the right direction. Once again, my name is Chris with Ignited by Nature, and until next time, guys and gals.